thank you, because it has been because of you, because of our families, that I was able to accomplish what I have at DCFS. I don't think I would ever, if I had a choice to do things again, want to work for any other agency than for DCFS. I've learned so much from so many of you, and that I will always carry with me. I have had really wonderful experiences here, and I was telling someone, you know, I'm leaving on a good note. It's like you're leaving and you feel it's okay. You feel good that you were here. You feel good that you made a difference sometimes. And I feel very special because I've had the opportunity to work with all of you and to be given that opportunity. And one of the things, as we talk today, through our children's eyes, one of the strengths and of the gift that I received from my own biological family was my language and the maintenance of my culture. And it is so good as I sit back and reflect and try to think, what am I going to do now? I say, I'm going back to the island. I'm from Puerto Rico. And I said, I've been in this country 55 years. Wow. So I came as a little girl who didn't know a word of English. I was put back in first grade because back in the 60s, they thought that's how we help immigrants. They don't know the language, we put them back and they'll pick it up really quick. And so I remember sitting in a classroom for a whole year, not having a friend, not being able to communicate with anyone. And I think it was that experience that led me to advocate for those families who may not have a voice because they cannot speak English. And I also am grateful because today I can go back to Puerto Rico. I've missed a lot of time with my family that's still there. And that I know I can go to their homes, I can sit down with my aunts, I can hear their stories because I was fortunate enough to maintain my language. So please, the gift that we need to give our children is helping them maintain their language and their culture, because we keep them up to 21. And then after that, they are on their own, and many return to their families. I am sorry, I think I've gone over, and I want to thank my family who surprised me being here. Please give them a big hand. They have been a big support for me these 35 years. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
The 27th Annual Latino Advisory Council Family Institute Day, October 16, 2015, honoring Carmen Alvarez in recognition of her 35 years of excellence, leadership, dedication, and unwavering commitment to children, families, and to the Latino Advisory Council, Illinois Department of Children and Family Services, George H. Sheldon, Acting Director of IDCFS, Jose Lopez, Chief, Office of Latino Services, and Jose Alex Medina, Chairperson of Latino Advisory Council. Carmen, you have been an inspiration, you have been a motivation, you have been an excellent leader, but I would like to say that you have been a mother to the Latino community in the DCFS government. We honor you in this.
mostly as a Spanish-speaking child protective investigator in Cook County, where he is currently a child protective supervisor in the DeKalb office in Northern Region. He obtained a Master's of Arts degree from the University of Chicago School of Social Work and Service Administration and has a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Criminology from Northern Illinois University. A child of Puerto Rican parents, Mr. Echevarria was raised in Chicago's Humboldt Power community with 3 brothers and 1 sister. His parents split up when he was around 6 years old. His father moved to Puerto Rico, leaving his mother to raise 5 children. Young and single, his mother struggled with alcohol, which led her to be physically abusive and neglectful, and by the age of 11, Mr. Echevarria, along with 2 other siblings, were removed from the care of their mother by DCFS. Angry and sad at being removed from his mother's care, he would run away from foster homes and temporary shelters to go back home. While out on the streets, he joined a street gang and started getting into trouble with the police. Due to his aggressive behaviors, he was bounced around to different foster homes, was arrested twice, and spent time locked up at the Juvenile Detention Center. Due to the lack of foster homes for teenagers with bad behaviors, he was sent to a group home where he met a social worker who took an interest in helping him deal with his anger, guilt, and resentment. Mr. Echevarria will share his childhood stories on what it is like growing up in an abusive home and being removed by the child welfare system. He will present 3 key components that will help social workers and stakeholders build a trusting relationship with youth, which will lead to better outcomes for them. Again, my pleasure to introduce Mr. Richard Echevarria.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you all being here today. It's been a tough week trying to put this together. And I know that one thing that I did was somebody sent me an email and said, you know, we still need people to come to the Latino Advisory Council conference. And so I started sending emails out myself. And I said, you know, I would love for you guys to support me. And I see a lot of faces here where I've sent those emails to, and they're here today. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Statistics show that children who grew up in foster care have a very difficult time transitioning to adulthood, have a very difficult time just dealing with foster care. I recently looked and studies show that about 18% of our children who grow up in foster care age out and end up in the criminal justice system. There are many children today that not only end up in the juvenile justice system or the justice system, but 70% of those out of the 18% are males. Males have probably one of the most difficult time in the child welfare system as well, because a lot of times we're looked at a little bit different. We're aggressive or can be angry, we're male, our voice is deeper. And so I believe that some of it is just a fear factor of having boys or just having males who act out. But why are we here? I mean, we still have a lot of kids who grow up from the child welfare system who don't seem to make it even past high school. And when you look at the statistics of those that finish college, it's very low. I think about 5% make it to college, and about 3% makes it all the way through. And so the department across the United States and all the department have done a better job to try to help youth achieve better outcomes in life. They have more services up to the age of 23, which I feel I'm very proud of, and I'm happy that we have that. Because once you turn 18, and especially if you come from a traumatized situation where you've had experienced a lot at home, you are not an adult at 18. There's no way. And so I'm very happy to see that policy have changed to try to give these children more. more services, more help. And as I heard the director recently talk about education, and that's the key, I admit that it is the key to improving outcomes for our children. To try to get them to believe in an education and make it. But the reality is that we still struggle. Even with all these services, we still struggle to try to help them out. So why am I here? I can tell you this, that if I'm considered a success, then the child welfare system has failed us. Why? Because I should be a norm, not an exception.
Come on. That's good. That's good.
More children should be able to be productive citizens in our society. And unfortunately, that's not happening. But I'll tell you one thing. Everyone here has that goal to try to improve outcomes for children. That's why you're here today. You should give yourself a hand up and applause, because it is you. It's everyone here, especially if you're in the child welfare system. So how did I get here today? I ask that question sometimes myself, how did I get here today? I think that the best way I can say that I got here today is because I'm resilient. Other than Carmen, who's been here over 30 years. Congratulations. Resilience is the ability to quickly bounce back from adversity. It's the ability to understand that challenges are going to come, but that you won't quit. You're going to face it. So guess what? You're all resilient. Because how many times have you, especially the ones that have been here over 30 years, 20 years, even me working as a supervisor in child protection at Northern, almost at Northern Illinois University, but it is in DeKalb. The resiliency took time though, and I believe that that's the key, is that we can build resiliency. Because resiliency is not something that you're born with. It's something you learn. Why am I here today? Why am I standing up here and could stand here and say to you that I am a success? And while I could sit here and say to you, I graduated from the University of Chicago, that's a success, right?
Yes.
I can stand here and say, I've been married 20 years and still married. That's considered a success, right? I can stand here and say to you, I've been employed by DCFS for 21 years, and that is a success. But for me, my biggest success is turning around that cycle of violence. I have 3 beautiful children. I'm thankful that one could be here today with me. My son, Richard, very handsome young man. Better looking than I was when I was his age, I'll tell you that much. Great kid. And you know why? Because I showed him love. And I have 2 other kids that are out here today because they do have school. And I have a 16-year-old daughter. And I'm proud to say that she finished her freshman year as the #1 student My son, who's here today, attends NIU on a scholarship. And now I got my little 7-year-old daughter. It's so wonderful when you have them little kids, right? They still hug you and kiss you and run to you at the door when you get home. And they become teenagers. Please, please. Can I get a hug here? Oh, Dad, please. Especially when you drop them off in school around your friends. You better give me a hug right now before I embarrass you in front of your friends. So, my own biggest success, amongst all the success, is my wife and kids. That's my biggest success, more than anything. You can take my education away, and I'll be happy. You can take my degrees away. You can take anything from me away, and I'll still be happy, as long as I have a great family, a healthy family. And that's why you guys are all here today, because you're all resilient. Because you've seen the policies and practices change, right? All the time. Maybe even from one day to the next one, who knows, you know? But it changes. And you all don't give up. You seem to make it to work. Although probably this is a break for you, right? You know, Friday. Being right here today, you know, listening to some speaker, getting some 20 hours of credit that you need for 2 years to keep your licensure. You can get it here. You know, I start thinking about the state of the Latino families and the ones in the child welfare field, the ones that come in contact with the child welfare field. And I think back to the time that when I first was removed from the care of my mom and placed in foster care. That I was really never placed in a Spanish-speaking home. And guess what? I believe it's still the same today. We struggle to create Spanish-speaking homes. It's a struggle to have them. So I'll tell you one thing, I almost lost my language. I had it, I had the basics, but I had to practice. Because between the time that I was removed all the way until the time that I went back to around my family, I lost a lot of my language. And when you lose your language, sometimes you even lose your culture. And that's a travesty. And I know that we still struggle to this day. We make up, what, 7% of the workforce? Which I believe is skewed based on the fact that a lot of people got laid off and left. And so the numbers are probably still the same across the line. But then we also have problems with recruitment. We have problems with even hiring. Having enough Spanish-speaking workers to deal and address the issues of families that we come into contact on a daily basis. But I do know and I believe that there is hope. I believe with the new director, Sheldon, and I believe with all the commitment that we have with the Latino Advisory Council, the Illinois Association of Hispanic State Employees, and other entities are working very hard to try to improve hiring, retention, and recruitment of foster parents. Now, resilience, as I speak, is the ability to bounce back, right? Ability to bounce back quickly. And I talked about that being something that you learn. When I was removed from my home, it definitely was not the first time that DCFS came knocking at the door. We all here have a tough job to try to figure out who has been abused or who has been neglected, right? You know why? Because just like I remember as a kid, there's some fear factor that's brought upon our own family. Don't talk to DCFS. Tenga cuidado. They take you away, you will not see nobody, you won't see no family. You know, and that's how it was, you know, and that's constant. When my mom hit me once and cut me on my back and on my arm, I ended up in the hospital. And I remember a social worker showing up to talk to me from DCFS. And I don't think he's here today, but he still works for the department. And his name is Hector Avilés. Now Hector Avilés looked real cool back then with the big old afro. Smooth. Anybody knows him? Ain't he smooth? Still smooth to this day, eh? So he comes in there real cool. Hey, how's it going? My name is Hector. Yada yada. I'm looking at him like, man, you got a cool ass afro. I used to struggle to get one because my older brothers had one, and I'm like, why did I have to have the wire hair? You know, I tried to make it in the afro, and I couldn't make it in the afro. But you know, when he first came to me and he asked me how did I get this, you know, cuts and stuff like that, I would lie to him. It's typical. You know, it's very difficult. You know, we want to protect children, but they're not going to tell us. So I lie to him, and now that I've spent a lot of years as an investigator before I became a supervisor, I sit back and I say, man, I can see why he kept coming around. How in the heck I could tell him that I cut myself on some glass when no glass was found in any other cut? So he knew I was lying. But there wasn't much he could do. He kept looking though. He kept looking. Then there was another incident with my mom. I remember she came home, she was intoxicated. Very upset that my little sister at that time had, you know, dirty diaper. So she grabbed a bottle, heavy bottle, you know, one of those bottles, salad dressing type of bottle, they're heavy. And she started knocking us over the head with it. My sister would get more, and then I would get the less. But my sister, I remember, standing there, getting hit, and I'm standing there scared. Like, oh my God, I'm next, and I better not leave because I'm gonna get more. Because that was always the thing, si te vas, tú vas a ganar más. You know. How many Puerto Ricans we have here? Okay. As you know, Puerto Ricans have a different word, or not different word, but a different saying for the word galleta. You didn't want a galleta in my house. A galleta. So when I first go, you know, to a home and you know, tell me a galleta, I'd be like, oh, I don't want a galleta. A cookie. Oh, okay, that's different. Anyway, so it was a struggle. So my mom, blam, hit me in the head. I'm bleeding like crazy. I'm like dizzy and walking around, and my sister's trying to make it easier for me by laughing, like, oh, like pretending it didn't hurt. It hurt. I know it hurt. She took it more than me, but I took it and I got cracked in the head right here. I still have the scar. I walk outside and I was so thankful that my paternal uncle, who lived next door, just arrived. Grabbed me, took me to the hospital. But because at that time, again, I go in ahead and I lied and said that the cool, afro, smooth Hector Avilés shows up. Hey, Rick, what's going on? How you doing? I'm like, all right. Hey, listen, you know, and he tried to talk to me to, you know, to let me know that things would be all right. That, you know, that he's here to protect me. But I continue to lie to him. Eventually, enough was enough. I had enough. It was constant. It was a lot of neglect. It was getting hit with the switches. Everybody know about the switches? Yes. It was getting hit with the extension cord. Yes. It was getting hit with whatever she could grab her hands on. So then why do you think that when I finally started being in the system, as like they say, I started to run away? I had a hard time. I had anger issues. I had resentment, and let me tell you where the resentment comes from. And I don't know about any other families, but Latinos usually tend to be more about, don't tell anybody, don't tell the government, don't tell the government anything, you know? So once I did tell and told on my mom, the feeling of guilt went on for a long time. Because I felt bad. I said, oh my God, I broke something that I shouldn't have. But you can understand that I had to. Because I really got tired of taking care of my baby sister and being a father to her while my mom went out and disappeared for 2 or 3 days. And I would cry, and like, where's my mom, looking out the window, when is she gonna get home? But wouldn't tell anybody because my mom would beat the crap out of me if I told somebody. So, that's where I ended up in foster homes. I have a little packet over there, and I think I've been through about 8 or 9 different foster homes. It's been a lot. It's been a lot. And so I would run out in the streets, and I kind of let you guys know this. If you are, who does permanency work? Permanency, foster kids, okay. If you got kids and your caseload running away, go to their family's house. I'm gonna bet you they're around there, even if they don't tell you they are. Don't start looking everywhere else. If they say no, keep your focus over there. It's around there. They're gonna be around the people that they feel comfortable with and trust, because the trust level for them to have with caseworkers is very difficult, you know. So anyway, so I end up in this in this foster home. Then I end up has anybody worked at Dickens shelter? Nobody? Oh, I'm old. So, you know, I ended up at Dickens Shelter. That was our temporary foster group home, whatever. And I will never forget that was my first encounter with very good people. Now, I was scared. Let me tell you why I was scared. Because growing up in the Puerto Rican neighborhood where all you see was a lot of brown people, it was scary to go into a group home where there was other people of color. And I was afraid because I didn't know people of color other than the brown people. But I'm talking about African American. And I was scared. But let me tell you something. They took great care of me. And they did. I remember that I used to wet my bed. I'll admit it. I think it's the first time I'm admitting this. Because I was like 12 years old and I was still wetting the bed. And I know that sometimes I think I moved around because of the fact that I wet the bed and I couldn't stop wetting the bed. My first night. And then I wake up in the morning and my bed is wet. And I'm scared. I'm like running around, oh my God, they're gonna find it, they're gonna see it all. I'm so embarrassed. Ooh. This lady walks in there. I'll never forget who she is, but I did forget her name. Beautiful lady, African-American woman, walks in and says to me, don't worry about it. No one is going to know that you wet the bed. I'm gonna go get you some sheets. And I'm gonna change it. And if you do this again tomorrow, we'll do this again. Okay, so don't worry about it. That was the last time I wet my bed. The last time. So, as I'm getting older, I feel resentful and I start leaving. I'm like, I'm out of here. So I would run and go home to my mom because I felt bad that I tricked on her. And it shifted though by that time, because now my mom's not gonna touch me, leave me alone, but she still struggled with alcohol. So what I ended up doing is I ran the streets. She wasn't gonna watch me. She wasn't gonna supervise me. So I joined the street gang, started getting in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. I had an older brother. He was my role model, gang member, but he was my role model. Whenever I got taken out of Chicago and placed in a foster home, it's twice, Dreamwood in Calumet City, never forget, he showed up to come pick me up because I didn't want to be there. So we're running the streets, we're hanging out in the corners. I remember I got grabbed by a couple of members of a gang, pulls me into the alley, puts a knife to my neck and says, "What do you be about?" And I'm a little kid, and I'm standing there and I'm saying, "Well, I'm this gang because I'm in the gang neighborhood." And they said to me, "Well, we're this rival gang, and we're gonna kill you." I'm scared for my life. So I say to them, "You know what? I'm not that gang." So then they say to me, "Well, we are that gang. We're not the rival, we're just checking." So then I sat there again and I said, "Well, yeah, then I'm part of your gang." So then they pulled the knife again and said, "Oh, we're the rival." And I said, "Oh." "So what do you mean by it?" "None." "Come on, man, you can tell us." No, I'm not a gang member. I just live in the neighborhood, man. Come on. Don't kill me." Until the guy pulled up his sleeve, and it was the same gang I was in at that time. And I'm like, "Woo, all right, let's shake up, okay." And they said to me, "No matter what, don't ever not say you're in that gang." "Oh, no problem, I'll see you later." And I'm thinking, yeah, right. Or pull a knife on me, something about to kill me. I ain't that gang. But, you know, and I know I don't have a lot of time, you know, it's been a long day, but I do appreciate you all being here. And I just want to kind of just move on to let you know that a couple of things happen. And I think that this helps, especially when you want to build resiliency. The number one thing is patience. You gotta have patience. I'm standing here today because a social worker who showed patience to me, and I'll tell you, I bet you a lot of times he wanted to say this, Why? Who does ACR here? ACR, anybody? Okay, everybody goes to him, right? Or whoever knows about ACR, right? I probably was one of the ones that changed it where kids can't go to ACRs anymore. Because at these ACRs, the social worker had to share information about you and about the struggles. And I didn't like that. So I would curse him out and tell him we can go at it, let's go, come on. And call him every name of the book. And then I would refuse to go to the social work sessions, you know. But he showed patience. He didn't take that personal. That's how I work today. I say, when I get in a situation, when I need my patience, especially being a supervisor, I say, WWSD. My social worker's name was Sean. What would Sean do? Because he showed me patience, because he was patient with me. He could have walked away and said, you know what? He didn't say too much. And sometimes people do that. I don't want to work with that kid. But that's the kid you need to work with. Because that's the one that's going to end up being the statistics that we don't want. So this person gave me the patience. But he also gave me the attention. The attention. Again, could have been patient, walked away, but he decided, you know what, I'm gonna give you attention. When I'm an avid Cub fan. Love the Cubs, yeah. And remember when baseball used to be at 1:20 all the time, the Cubs game? I would run like a bat out of hell all the way back to the group home because I needed to watch the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. And sometimes there were times when I should have been in social work, talking to my social worker. And guess what? He'd show up there. I'd run, I'm about to turn on the TV. Oh, Sean, hi. Hey, Richard, how are you? And since you don't come see me, I'll come see you. But, he gave me that attention. And when I graduated from Wilbur Wright College, got my associates, he wasn't my social worker anymore, but he gave me attention by showing up. When I went off to NIU and graduated, he showed up and went to my graduation. Then we lose track for a while, which is kind of weird, but we always found each other. And then when I would find Sean, and the next thing I know, I find him at, I think, the University of Chicago. He was teaching a class or something. No, sorry, before that. When I lost track of him, I found him working part-time at DCFS. And he gave me a good word to the director, and that's how I got hired as an intern, because I had no experience, right? But I'll remember, I was making $18,500 at another job, and then he said, the director says, do you have a felony? Oh no. Then we can probably hire you if you can pass the interview. Okay, I think I can do that. He says, I can't pay you like regular workers. Well, you're only gonna make $24,000. No, $24,000, that's a raise. But he did that. And when I wasn't trying to be an actor, he showed up to the place. When I graduated from the University of Chicago, he showed up to be there. When I needed a tune-up, that's what I call it. I'm doing good, but then once in a while, you just need that tune-up to get you straight. I'd call him and he would always be there for me. And I know he wasn't getting paid for that. But it showed the commitment. And when he built that trust, that made it better for all of us. And then the final thing that he did is that he showed me love. He showed me he cared. Because when we have our own children, right? And sometimes they drive you nuts, right? Do you kick them out? Do you tell them don't come back home? No, you take it. And you do your best to be patient, giving them the attention they need, and give them the love that they need. And that's what it's all about. So, if you don't remember anything today from me, patience, attention, love, that spells pal. Be a pal. Right? So, whenever, again, as I told you, whenever I need that social worker, who's not my social worker anymore, to show up, even to this day, he does. I'd like to introduce you to Sean Lane. Thank you, Sean. Everyone enjoy the rest of the conference. Get those credit hours. You need them. Be blessed. God bless you all. Have a great day. Actually, one more thing. I gotta give a shout out to my Northern Region people right over there. Thank you for a lot of support. But I'm also a transplant from Cook County, so all you Cook County people, I love you all.
Thank you so much, and we are off to your workshop session 2. Thank you. We'll see you back here at 3:30. Workshop 2.